friends, Kim from Stamping Imperfection. I'm here playing with some stuff from Scrappy Tails Crafts, and I pulled out my Slimline Birdhouse pop-up card. I love this set. You get two sets of dies. When you order this, you get the smaller set that says Tweet, and it's got some bridge pieces and some side pieces to make the pop-up box. I used the main house piece to actually create a front and a back out of craft cardstock. So I cut two of those out of that craft cardstock, and then I cut two of the side pieces out of that smaller rectangle die that will create the pop-up part of the card. So what I love about this is this was released months ago, this basic set, along with some add-on sets that you could get to create like a colonial house, furniture in the house, and things like that. And there have been several other stamp sets released that add on to this as well, and you'll see me use one of those today. But I'm also going to use this fairy house add-on, and I love this. Like, this is just so sweet, and I have not had the chance to use the fairy house add-on yet, so that's what I want to do today. So I folded these two side pieces, and you can see I folded them in, I call it an accordion fold. Some people call it a mountain fold or a concertina fold. It's sort of shaped like an M or a W depending on how you're looking at it. I'm adding some double-sided sticky tape. This is 1/2 inch tape that I'm adding to those outside flaps, and then I'm going to add those to attach the front and the back part of the pop-up card. Now the flaps get folded and attached to the sides of that card base and the card front. And notice I'm folding that skinnier flap under and just putting the fold toward the edge of the card. And I'm going to do the same thing with the top. And the deep mountain fold or accordion fold that makes like the center of the M or the W goes toward the center of the card, and that works that way on both sides. So the smaller flaps attach to the front and the back, while that other piece folds in toward the center. So this is one of the add-ons. This is a Slimline cover die, and it is a cobblestone cover die, and you can see I've die cut this out, and I'm going to go ahead and punch all those little stones out. And I put some double-sided sticky tape on the back, so I'm just going to peel this off and pull all those little pieces out of there. Most of them come out when I pull that backing off, which is really nice, but I'll just go ahead and pick the rest of those out. So you could actually do some paper piecing here and die cut this out of two different colors of brown cardstock or gray cardstock, depending on what color stones you want this to look like. And then you could just put the pieces back into the die that you cut out here, and that will look really nice. I'm going to not do that today just for time saving, but that is something you could do. It looks really pretty when you do that. I'm just going to add a little bit of sponging or ink blending on top of that, and that'll do the trick there. And here I'm just putting that second piece in. I left that out because I thought I might want to cut out some windows, but I changed my mind about that. I decided that I'll make windows, but I'm not going to cut holes. So I'm not going to fill the center of that up with stuff peeking out windows or anything. So this is one of the pieces of the fairy house add-on, and it's like a thatched or leafy roof almost, and I love this. I think it's so cleverly designed. So when I die cut this, those individual pieces actually come, the rows of pieces actually come apart. So I was trying to keep them all together to make it easier to actually put on the card. And then it has a separate little cap piece, and I went ahead and added glue to this and added that to the top. I I think this is just so adorable. Now, I also made a second one of those that I'm going to put on the back. And I took that top piece and flipped it over and used it sort of to cover up the back of that. And I glued them together here, and I'm kind of wishing I hadn't done that, because toward the end of the video, when you see the card popped open, you'll see why I shouldn't have done that. Like, it actually holds the top of the house closed, but it still stands and it does what I want it to, so I was okay with that. I almost snipped it apart, and maybe before I send it I might choose to do that, but I'm fine with how it turned out, and it stands beautifully. Now you can cut these down. This will actually fit in a business size envelope because it is 8 inches long at least. It could be 8.5 inches. I'm not exactly sure about that, but you could cut this down to fit into an A2 size envelope and just have a smaller house. So that's something else you can do too. I can't wait till Christmas to create a whole Christmas village, because you know she's got more add-ons coming in the next release, which you will see in a few days. Actually, August 13th, the design team will be doing a YouTube and Instagram hop and a blog hop, and you'll be able to see the entire new release, because the August release is amazing, absolutely amazing, and you're gonna love it. It's all about Christmas. So I couldn't figure out where that one piece went. I tried piecing it with the front just to see where it went. I couldn't figure it out, so I just set it aside. It didn't really seem to fit in the bottom, but it looks like that's probably where, nope, that other piece went in there. So I got the roof pieces on, and I just was using scrap paper for all the little parts that I'm going to be adding next. In fact, even the craft cardstock here was scrap paper, and so was the darker one. So I pulled out Vintage Photo, and I'm just kind of blending that in. I covered the whole card front, and I did the edges of the card back. Then I die cut out the floral piece and this little yellow piece, which is one of the window pieces. I'm just going to attach that to the front of this floral piece. It's just slightly larger. It fits perfectly inside there. And there are a couple different options for windows there. There are some square windows, and then there's another circular piece that'll fit in there. I'm going to add a little bit of this picked raspberry around the edges of this, and this really perfectly matches my cardstock, so it's a little hard to see unless you're holding on to it, but you can, like, I like the touch the sponging adds to the edges of these things, and it gives it a more rustic feel. So I'm going to do some sponging on the door pieces as well. And I did not attach that window because I've got a different plan for the window. I am going to go ahead and attach the door. So it's got a door frame. You could do that in a different color if you wanted to. You could add a handle. You could actually put a window in that door with either the square or the circular pieces. Like, there's many things you could do here. I'm just going to glue it to my card. I'm just lining it up with the bottom of the card and just gluing it all together. And I just really love the way this is coming together. The problem is it's very addicting to pull out your old dies and stamp sets, you know, stuff from your stash that you can create with. So that's exactly what I did here. I pulled out the Spring Essentials kit, and I pulled out the Assorted Leaves die set, and here I'm pulling out the Fairy Friends set, and I pulled out my favorite little fairy, which is the one that's kind of kneeling almost. And I like this one for what I'm going to do here because she has the smallest face, so the proportion of her face is really good for peeking in that window. So I'm going to stamp this on black cardstock in black ink, and then I'm going to just cut out the head and part of the wings, so it'll look like a dark silhouette of the fairy sticking out. So I'm just going to go ahead and fussy cut that a little. Once I got that fussy cut out, I just added a little bit of glue to that window and popped that little silhouette fairy face in the inside. Now I wanted to cover that up because if I just put that down in the card, the cobblestones are going to show through. So I pulled out a piece of vellum and I punched out a 1 1/4 inch circle. That's the size of the circle. And I really wanted it to have a glow, like a light was on. So I'm using mustard seed and I'm just kind of pulling that vellum through that ink, and I'm being very careful because that's very wet now. So I'm just going to add a little glue to the back of that flower, and I'm going to stick that piece on, and I'm using tweezers, and the ink side is going to go toward the card, so I won't make a huge mess of this. So now this looks like a light glowing in the window with a little silhouette of the fairy, and I just want to make sure I get that right side up. So I glue that to the card and put that down. Now I want to add some decorations, and this is where I started really pulling out more of my other die sets, because there's she's got so many die sets for flowers and things. This is from the Spring Essential set, and I'm pulling out one of the butterflies, and I'm pulling out that spring grass. And I'm going to die cut that out in the same green that I used for the roof, and then I'm just going to cut it in half. I'll put 1/2 on each side of that door, and I'll just glue down the bottoms so that there's a little bit of the top kind of sticks up a little bit. Now, if I decide to mail this and put it in a business size envelope, I will trim off the piece that's overhanging the edge of the card a little bit. For now, I'm going to leave that on there just in case I don't mail it in that particular kind of envelope. But if I do mail it in a business size envelope, I'm going to need to trim off anything that's overhanging the card. So here you can see I also added some flowers from one of the dies in the assorted leaves dies, and I used light pink for that, and contemplated doing some gel pen or some sparkly jewels or sequins or something on top of the flowers, and I haven't done that. I could do that before I send it. So I'm just die cutting out one of the butterflies. It has a body piece which I cut in the bright pink, and the wings which I die cut out of the light pink that I used, and I just attached them together and attached them to the roof. I'm using just glue. I'm not making anything dimensional or anything, keeping in mind that I will probably send this to someone. So that's actually going to complete the front of my card. Now I want to add a sentiment to the back. So here I'm just stamping dreams, and I'll stamp a little secondary sentiment that says follow your dreams, and I'm just using plain black ink. You could of course decorate the back side, and here's where I'm showing you that it can stand up, but since I glued the top of that together, it is holding the two pieces together, and I'm kind of thinking, do I want to do that or do I want to just snip it? But I actually am going to leave this. I actually like the way it looks, and I'm very happy with the way this turned out. It really is addicting to keep adding things to these little houses, and I still feel like I could add more stuff. I've got all these great dies, and I have the fairy flower die set coming because I didn't order it with my last order and I regretted it. So that's coming next. I may, when I get that in a couple of days, it should be arriving, I might add it. So that is the fairies sentiment stamp set, by the way. I'm going to put links to everything below. I would love it if you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. Thank you so much for watching, friends.